Welcome to the Herbi Speaks board maker training video. Herbi Speaks was developed by Guy Barker and has been made available free to anyone who wants to download it at herbi.org, Herbi.org. And we're going to show you today how it works. So as you can see right here, we have a blank screen. This is how a board maker starts out. And we're going to add buttons to this screen. Now, Eagle Eyes and Camera Mouse both left click with their dwell time. So what we did is we designed it so that when you right click, it brings up your menu. And so here you can see your menu options of what you want to do. So I can add a new button, and you can add as many buttons as you want to your board. Now to start with, if you're doing something basic, then you want to start with only 2 options and then work your way up from there. If there's too many options on the board, it's too complex. Depending on the level of the user, you're going to have to work your way up to becoming more complex. So start simple and then bring it up from there. So you can see I can add my buttons on here. Now the first thing I do want to do is come up here if you've just downloaded Herbi, and we're going to come up to this top menu. I've got a file menu where I can save and open and everything that we're used to there. Then my view, I can go full screen, and my options, these are my default options. So we want to get these set up before we start adding buttons. The default background color is black, which is actually easiest on the eyes, so we recommend that. The default button text color is white, which is good. It contrasts on the black so you can see what you're doing. And then the default text font, you're going to want to change this. And I change it to about a 48. That's a nice big font that's visible. So click on 48, OK. And then my other default that I want to set is when I scroll over a button, notice there's a border that appears so that I know that I'm on the button. That border thickness is set right here under button border thickness, and I want to set that to an 8. Click OK, and now my defaults will be saved the next time I open this up, and it'll always go to there. Now this last menu up here, boards, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, so we'll leave it up there for now. So I come back down here and I'm going to right click on my button, and I just added a button. I can remove the button if I want, add it back in. So add and remove. My next option is enter edit mode. Now I can enter edit mode by clicking anywhere on the screen, and edit mode allows me to move the button around, and if I grab the corner, I can click and drag and resize the button also. So I can do that all over, get my buttons exactly where I want them, line them up, and then I just right click anywhere on the screen and exit edit mode. So we're going to come back into our box, right click, and my next function is I can set the button text. So I can now set the text. And the text is really neat. You can actually put in an entire paragraph or sentences, whatever you want, and it is punctuation sensitive. So it uses the voice in Microsoft Windows. And so if you put in a comma, it will actually create a pause when it speaks. So you can see we've now typed in hello.
Hello.
And it speaks hello when we click on it. So then I right click again. My next function is I can set a picture on the button. And that is just any picture you have saved on your computer. Now keep in mind that you want to use small file sizes because the Herbi file could get very big if you're loading it up with a bunch of big pictures. So you want to use smaller pictures. So maybe we like this sun right here. So we could add this sun in there, hello. And there's our hello sun. Now another thing that we can do, if I come back over, I'm going to come to this button now, right click. We're going to set the button text to, let's say, cat. And now I'm going to right click and I want to add a picture, but I don't have a picture of a cat in my folder right here, so I want to get one. So what I can do is go to a search engine like Google, type in cat, and then up here at the top I click on images. So I'm going to click on images, and here's a bunch of pictures of cats. Now when you save these images, you want to save them right here from this page and save the small thumbnail so you save a small picture size. If you click on the picture, it then gives you a larger image size, which is going to be a bigger file size. So we're going to find the cat that we want, and we'll take this one right here, right click. I'm going to save image as cat, and I actually have a Herbi folder already in my picture folder right up here. So I've just created a Herbi picture folder where I keep all of my Herbi pictures. Save, and now I can come back over to Herbi. There's my cat, and I can put my cat in. So I'm using these pictures from Google as fair use, nonprofit, and educational purposes only. So that's where I'm getting those pictures from. Now you can see, I'm going to right click now again. So that's two ways to get our pictures. I'm going to right click back in my sunshine over here. And my next one is I can remove the picture from the button if I want to remove it. But I can show the text or I can hide the text. So if I uncheck that box, it'll hide the text. The text is still there.
Hello.
And it will still speak what's written, but it just hides it if I don't need that. Now if I right click again, you can see my next function is set button text font, so I can change the size or style of the font if I wanted to for each individual button. And the next one is important, I can set the button text color. Now the text color also defines the border color also. So on our sunshine here, you can see there's no border because it's white on white. So this would be a very good example of, I'm going to change my text color. And let's change our text color. We could change it to yellow. And now we can see there's yellow border when we get on our sunshine, and it shows where it's at. Same thing on our cat. Maybe we don't like that white, we could change that color. So you can experiment with those colors. The other thing you can do is, if I show my text again, you can see that yellow on yellow is not very good. So that would be another good example of, let's change the text color and to something that's going to be more visible. And now we've got something a little bit better. So I'm going to right click the last time, and our last two functions is go to full screen view, and the last one is link to board. Now this link to board is very important because that is the magic of the board maker, is we can take and make multiple boards and then link them together just like a website or web pages. So I'm going to come up here to my boards now, and my boards menu, I can add a board, make a new board from the current board if I wanted to maybe make a template and duplicate it, rename the current board, delete the current board, and then down here it's going to give me a list of my boards. So I can come in now and board, add a board. What do you want to name this board? It's just named board 2. That's fine for right now. Okay. And it gives me a new blank screen. So now I can add a new button. And for these, just for illustrative purposes, I'm just going to type in main, because we're going to just take this and link this back to the main default screen. So I right click on it, link to another board, and I select my default board. So now when I click on that button,
Main.
it speaks and then moves back to the board. Now when you do that, you are going to need to use recovery time on Camera Mouse and on Eagle Eyes. The recovery time, you need to set it long enough to allow the text to be spoken before it allows another click. And that is because if you click too many times, it will not sequence back to the board it's supposed to. So make sure you set in your recovery time and it will work. So now the same thing, I could take any one of these buttons on this board and make them link to another board simply by right-clicking on that button, link to another board, and then select the board you want it to link to.
Hello.
Now, to show you the functionality of how this can, what you could do with this, we're going to just show you a few examples. So I'm going to say open. Let's open a file. Do you want to save changes? And we could save this file that we just created or not, and I'm not going to save that. So here's a butterfly matching game. And what we did is we put this big one up here at the top. Now, as you create these games, don't put one of the selections right in the middle of the screen. Otherwise, they're going to accidentally always click on that by default because we rest in the middle of the screen. So if you do have something in the middle of the screen, make sure that it's the instructions or something like that. So for example,
Can you find the picture that matches this one?
so we just typed in the instruction and hidden the text. If you click on the wrong one,
Not a match. Try again.
but if I click on the right one,
Good job. You found a match.
and now it looks like it scrambled up all the butterflies, but really it just linked to a new board. So you can see I've kind of made this so it's self-advancing if they get the correct answer. So we click again,
Good job. You found a match.
and it sequences again. I can click one more,
Good job. You found a match.
and it scrambles again. So this is a good example of, if I'm making a game or an activity like this, I don't want to recreate this every single time. So I can just come up to boards and make a new board from the current board, and that's just going to make a copy of it. So you can see right here I've got 4 boards currently under my board list, and I'm just going to make a new board from the current board. And you can see, what do I want to name it? We'll name it board 5. And you can see that nothing changed because it's identical. So if you need to check, come back up here, make sure you're on board 5. I am. The little check mark right there. And now I can come into edit mode, and I could scramble up my butterflies again. And then once I've done that, I exit edit mode. And then I want to change what these link to. So this right now, if I click on it, link to another board, it links back to the default board. So that's okay. We like that. But we need to now go back to board 4 because board 4 we want to link to board 5. So I can right click, link to another board, and I'm going to link that to board 5. So now we're linked back.
Good job. You found a match.
And now they sequence through. And you can link them to any board. It doesn't have to be sequential. You can link them back and forth any way you want. So this is one example that you could do. And what you can do is you could create, let's give an example of an educational board. So we have an educational board. I'm going to save the changes I just made to the butterfly. And here's one that we had a student using where she was working on her numbers and weather. So if you click on numbers, this is kind of a self-navigating board.
Numbers.
And it took her to her number board. Now notice all the numbers are white because if you color them, they're going to memorize the color, not necessarily the number. So then she could do her numbers. We could say, hey, where's number 8?
8.
And she could click on them. But it's self-navigating because we could say, okay, let's go back and work on weather.
Menu.
And she would take us back here and select weather.
Weather.
And then she could tell us what the weather was. So just a few examples of what we can do with Herbi to kind of get you thinking about ideas of how you can use it. Last one I want to show you is a very simple version of where you would want to start with somebody who we don't know where they are cognitively. So this is something very simple where we want to do basic object recognition.
This is a ball. Can you find the ball?
And that sequences into my first slide. Right here in the middle, I've put the instructions.
Can you find the ball?
And then if they click on the wrong one,
this is a truck. Try again.
But you can see how now we're going to sequence through, and the goal is to find, can they consistently recognize an object?
You found the ball. Good job. You found the ball. Good job. You found the ball. Good job.
And so you could just make a series of moving that around. Now, if you wanted to duplicate this and do new objects, you could just come up and say File, Save As, and save it as a new file, and then come back in, and all you would have to do is edit the pictures and the text to say what you wanted it to say, and now you don't have to recreate the entire file. Some other ideas that we've seen is using pictures of the family so they can choose the person they want to talk to or play with. And doing things like that. Just keep in mind that every person is at a different level and make sure that you don't start out too advanced. We usually have the tendency to go way too advanced from where they really are, and that just frustrates both parties. So start out simple, start using it, and then as you create boards, what we want to do is eventually create a library where we can share those boards between each other. So please contact us if you have any other questions or if we can help you with anything, and thanks for watching the video.